Disclaimer: this video is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The content presented is based on publicly available information, research, and media reports. While we strive for accuracy, we cannot guarantee that all details are fully verified or up to date. The views and opinions expressed in this video do not constitute legal, financial, or professional advice. All individuals mentioned are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Additionally, this video does not promote violence, harassment, or defamation of any person or entity. Our goal is to present factual narratives while respecting the dignity of all parties involved. Viewer discretion is advised, as some topics may be disturbing. If you or someone you know is struggling with issues related to crime, mental health, or violence, please seek appropriate help from local authorities or professionals. I am not responsible for any actions taken as a result of watching this content. This video is meant to inform and discuss true crime cases, and any interpretation or use of this information is at the viewer's own discretion. If any information in this video is inaccurate or misrepresented, we encourage respectful discussion and corrections in the comments. Subscribe for more true crime stories, and remember to engage responsibly. Rain fell in relentless sheets over the cemetery, turning the manicured lawn into a slurry of mud. Black umbrellas dotted the gravesite like dark blossoms. Felicity Hartwell clutched a bouquet of white lilies, the petals sodden and drooping. Her husband, Martin, stood beside her, his face pale but composed, glancing at the mourners as if performing a role he had rehearsed countless times. The service had been heavy, suffused with grief, candlelight, and the whispered condolences of neighbors and distant relatives. Margaret, Felicity's best friend, and Martin's newlywed bride-to-be, stood inconspicuously behind the crowd, dressed in a muted gray coat, her eyes hidden beneath the brim of her hat. Felicity barely noticed her, consumed by the ache in her chest, the disbelief that Martin had lost his wife so suddenly. But the moment the coffin was lowered into the ground, Martin's composure cracked in subtle ways. His hand trembled slightly as he poured sand over the casket, and for a fleeting instant, Felicity saw something in his eyes, something she didn't recognize. Ambition, relief, satisfaction. She shook her head, unwilling to admit that suspicion had begun to creep into her mind. 3 days after the funeral, Felicity's phone rang. She hesitated before answering, dread clawing at her chest. The number was unfamiliar, international. "Felicity Hartwell?" a voice asked, cold, steady, with an unfamiliar accent. "Yes," she replied, her voice trembling. "This is Detective Marcus Vallon from Interpol. We need you to know, your wife, Amelia, is alive." Felicity's grip on the phone tightened. Amelia? Her wife? Dead? Alive? Her mind swirled, memories and disbelief colliding violently. The detective's voice was precise, chilling in its calmness. "We found evidence that Amelia was taken immediately after the funeral. Surveillance footage from the airport shows her boarding a flight under a false identity. We have reason to believe she was forced into hiding." Felicity's knees buckled. She stumbled to a nearby chair, trying to make sense of the impossible. Martin, her husband, had married Margaret, her best friend, in what now seemed like a premeditated act. The speed of the wedding, the secretive phone calls, the disappearing acts. It all began to make a dark, horrifying sense. The narrative shattered. The story fractured between timelines. 3 weeks prior, Felicity noticed Martin taking long drives alone, returning with mud-stained shoes and a faint scent of gasoline. He claimed it was landscaping. The day before Amelia's death, she found receipts for plane tickets in Martin's briefcase, 2 tickets to Geneva, dated the following month, in Amelia's name. The day of the funeral, Martin smiled when he thought Felicity wasn't looking, a flash of triumph in his eyes. Every memory, every interaction was now suspect. He had orchestrated Amelia's disappearance, or worse. Felicity's grief had been weaponized, manipulated to allow him to move on with Margaret seamlessly, legally, and without resistance. Felicity contacted Detective Vallon, who was based in Geneva. His office was stark, sterile. Yet the intensity in his eyes betrayed an obsession with uncovering the truth. Martin Hartwell and Margaret Clark are skilled manipulators, he explained. We've tracked financial transfers from offshore accounts, and there's a pattern. Amelia was isolated, her assets frozen, and her communications monitored. Whoever orchestrated this planned everything meticulously. Forensic details emerged slowly. Amelia's passport had been altered, her identity assumed by an alias, Sophie Lemaire. Digital footprints were wiped. Emails and messages were rerouted. Surveillance from train stations and airports painted a sinister picture. Amelia being moved across borders in silence, while Martin and Margaret staged a domestic tableau in England, attending church, shopping, laughing publicly, a perfect mask. Felicity began receiving cryptic messages from Amelia. The first was a simple phrase sent via WhatsApp. "I am here. Help me." She scoured the message metadata, revealing coordinates for a small village outside Lausanne, Switzerland. The location was isolated, tucked among forests and old stone buildings. Felicity felt her pulse quicken. She didn't trust the message completely. What if it was a trap? Martin and Margaret could have anticipated any move, set up a ruse, lured her into danger. But motherly instinct and justice drove her forward. She booked a flight, packed essentials, and prepared for confrontation. Psychological terror gripped her. What she might find, how Amelia would react, whether she would even recognize Felicity after 10 years of manipulation and isolation. The village was eerily quiet, the streets slick with rain. Old street lamps flickered. Felicity's cab dropped her near a stone house with ivy crawling over its walls. Windows darkened. She approached cautiously. A small garden gate creaked as she opened it. In the shadows, movement. Amelia or Sophie stood, thin, pale, hair matted, eyes wary. "Felicity." Her voice cracked. "Yes," Felicity whispered. "It's me. I've come to take you home." Amelia stepped back, hesitant, fear evident in every line of her face. They'll know. They'll know if I leave. They said. Felicity interrupted. "We'll make sure they can't touch you. I swear." Inside the house, Felicity noticed anomalies. Hidden cameras in every room. A locked basement. Notebooks with coded entries. Names, locations, and detailed schedules. Amelia had been held as a project by someone deeply organized. A criminal syndicate masquerading as a private security firm. Felicity's stomach turned as she discovered documents. Margaret had been complicit, or at least coerced. Letters from her to Martin, carefully orchestrated apologies, confessions, and agreements. Proof of collusion. The betrayal ran deeper than she could have imagined. Amelia, shaking, revealed the worst part. Margaret and Martin had never loved her. They had engineered her disappearance to gain access to her inheritance. She had been psychologically manipulated to adopt the identity of Sophie Lemaire, trained to obey, and threatened with exposure to international authorities if she resisted. Every call, every message, every step she tried to take was monitored. Felicity felt her blood boil. The man she had trusted, her best friend, both had become predators. Suddenly, a van rolled slowly down the village street. Felicity's heart jumped. "It's them," Amelia whispered. Shadows emerged. Men in black coats, faces obscured, weapons visible. The syndicate was tracking her mother, predicting every move. Felicity grabbed Amelia's hand. "Run!" They dashed into the forest, rain soaking their clothes, roots and branches snagging at their feet. Every sound, the snapping of twigs, the distant engine, made their hearts hammer in sync. They reached an abandoned cabin, hidden behind a curtain of moss-draped trees. Felicity barricaded the door. Outside, they could hear voices. Men shouting in English and French, frustration in their tone. Hours passed. The rain subsided, leaving the forest shrouded in mist. Felicity and Amelia shared whispered confessions, tears, and the smallest sparks of relief. But at nightfall, a figure appeared outside the cabin window. Margaret, calm, composed, with a revolver. "Did you really think you could outrun me?" she said, voice eerily serene. Amelia gasped. Why are you doing this? Margaret smirked. Because some debts must be paid, and some mistakes corrected. Felicity stepped forward, shielding Amelia. You're not going to hurt her. Not today. Not ever. A tense standoff began. The wind whistled through the trees. Fog thickened. Shadows danced. Then, from behind, the forest echoed with the sound of engines. Another van, this one larger, black, no windows, rumbled to a stop nearby. Before Felicity could react, two masked men jumped out, surrounding the cabin. Margaret's eyes widened, not in fear but calculation. From inside the van, a figure emerged. Tall, commanding. The silhouette was unmistakable. Martin, alive, watching, smiling. Felicity froze. Amelia whimpered. Martin raised a hand slowly, a gun glinting under the pale moonlight. "Hello, my loves," he said, voice cold, precise. "You thought this was over? This is only the beginning." Felicity's grip on Amelia's hand tightened. The forest seemed to close in, suffocating, oppressive. Every instinct screamed, fight, run, survive. And in that moment, everything changed. The forest was silent, broken only by the drip of residual rain from the trees. Felicity crouched in the cabin doorway, shielding Amelia behind her. The cold mist clung to her skin, but adrenaline burned hotter than any chill. Margaret's silhouette lingered by the tree-lean, her revolver catching the dim moonlight. Martin's presence in the black van outside added a layer of suffocating dread. Felicity could feel the weight of betrayal, fear, and rage coiling in her chest. But one thing was clear: she would not let them take Amelia again. Kamal, the friend Felicity had called ahead, finally arrived, headlights cutting through the mist. He jumped from the vehicle, weapon drawn, signaling for them to move. "Go! I'll cover you." Amelia hesitated, her trust fractured. "Mom, can we really escape him?" Felicity cupped her daughter's face. "We will, together, and we will end this nightmare. Trust me." The escape was cinematic and terrifying. Felicity, Amelia, and Kamal sprinted through the dense woods. Branches whipped against faces. Roots threatened to trip them, and Martin's van roared behind them, tires spinning on wet earth. Gunshots rang out. Felicity dived behind a fallen tree, pulling Amelia down. Kamal returned fire, precise and controlled, creating enough distraction for them to gain distance. Through the chaos, Felicity's mind raced. Every step was survival, every breath a defiance against the monsters she once called family and friend. Martin and Margaret weren't just criminals. They were master manipulators, predators who had almost succeeded in rewriting Amelia's life. Hours later, they reached a small, abandoned safe house Kamal had prepped in advance. Amelia collapsed, exhausted, shaking, and finally began to cry. Felicity held her, letting the tears flow for the first time in months. "Mom, I don't even know who I am anymore," Amelia whispered. "I've lived for them, not me, for 10 years. Felicity kissed her daughter's forehead. "No, from now on you live for yourself, for us, for the life we will reclaim together." Kamal laid out the intelligence he had gathered from Martin and Margaret's communications. Emails, banking records, hidden cameras, they were all meticulously designed to keep Amelia isolated. Felicity felt a cold anger settle in her bones. "Their plan was to erase her life," Kamal said. "But they underestimated your courage, Felicity, and Amelia's strength. That's why they're panicked now." Felicity knew they couldn't just hide. Martin and Margaret would track them, adapt, and strike again. They needed evidence, legal authority, and exposure. Using Kamal's contacts, they reached Interpol and local authorities. The confrontation was orchestrated with cinematic tension. Interpol agents surrounded the villa where Martin and Margaret had holed up. Felicity and Amelia observed from a safe distance, heartbeats syncing with each flash of light from the approaching law enforcement vehicles. Martin stormed out, furious, gun in hand, demanding to know how they had been discovered. The standoff was tense, cinematic, and psychologically charged. Martin's face was twisted in rage and disbelief. "You can't take her. She's mine." he shouted. Felicity stepped forward, holding Amelia's hand. No, she's not yours. She never was. And now justice will prevail. Margaret trembled, realizing the game was over. Evidence of her collusion, previously hidden, had been uncovered. Emails, photographs, and recordings of her involvement. The arrest was swift and thorough. Martin and Margaret were taken into custody, resistance futile. Their manipulations, lies, and crimes were revealed in full. Martin had orchestrated Amelia's disappearance to gain control over her inheritance. Margaret had cooperated, motivated by ambition and greed, all while pretending to mourn Felicity's supposed loss. Amelia's decade of forced isolation, psychological manipulation, and identity theft became central to the prosecution. Felicity and Amelia watched the news coverage in silence. Their lives had been stolen for 10 years, but now they had regained control. Amelia broke the silence. Mom, we're finally free. Felicity held her tightly. Yes, and we will make sure no one ever takes this from you again. In the weeks that followed, Amelia began therapy, learning to reclaim her identity. Felicity became an advocate for victims of psychological abuse, speaking out about the dangers of manipulation, greed, and betrayal. The mother-daughter bond, tested by unimaginable trauma, grew stronger. They traveled together, shared laughter, tears, and long conversations that had been denied to them for years. Forensic psychologists and investigators noted Amelia's remarkable resilience. Her story became a case study in psychological manipulation, identity theft, and the enduring power of familial love. Felicity, reflecting on everything, issued a simple but profound message to anyone who had endured abuse, loss, or betrayal. Love fiercely, trust wisely, and never allow anyone to erase who you are. Life is precious, and even in the darkest times, hope is the light that guides you home. Protect yourself, protect those you love, and remember, courage and truth always triumph over deceit. Amelia added, her voice steady, filled with newfound confidence. For 10 years, they tried to make me forget who I was. But love, for my mother, for myself, reminded me, if you are trapped, if you are silenced, know that help exists. You are never alone. The story concluded with both Martin and Margaret facing significant prison sentences, their schemes fully exposed. Felicity and Amelia rebuilt their lives, moving to a quieter town, away from the shadows of betrayal. Though the trauma would always leave traces, the duo had reclaimed agency over their lives. Their bond, tested and reforged in fire, became unbreakable. The final scene closes on a sunlit garden. Felicity and Amelia planting flowers together, the soil rich, the air fresh. Laughter echoes softly, the kind of laughter only earned through survival and courage. And in that moment, a mother and daughter realize, no darkness is permanent, and love is the ultimate redemption.